Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the News Bulletin at 8, brought to you by our number one news provider, Eswatini TV. My name is Nondumiso Vilagati, and first, let us take a look at today's headlines. Churches in the country are expected to hold one service per day during the Easter weekend. Eswatini today celebrated the World Autism Awareness Day. The Minister for Education has warned principals against expelling pupils who owe last year's school fees. The news in detail. Churches are expected to hold one service per day throughout the Easter weekend. This was announced by the acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku in a press briefing in Babane.
On Friday marks the beginning of the Easter weekend in Eswatini. It's going to be a long weekend. The acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku says the busiest Easter weekend is no time to relax in as far as adherence to the COVID-19 measures is concerned. The Prime Minister says those who are not going to be able to follow the Easter services through radio, TV and all digital platforms will be attending their different church services, but they should adhere to all COVID-19 protocols.
For those Christians who are unable to follow the Good Friday services over the broadcast and online platforms, we wish to emphasize that they may only hold services under the following conditions. 1. Only one service can be conducted per day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, observing the COVID-19 protocols of regularly washing hands with running water and soap or alcohol-based sanitizers, wearing of masks at all times, and observing a 1.5 meter social distancing. 2. Services shall not exceed 2.5 hours. 3. Children under the age of 10 are allowed to attend services as schools have opened. I cannot overemphasize the importance of responsible worship. Government relies on the maturity of our spiritual leaders to do the right thing and lead by example through exercising extreme caution and encouraging their flock to do the same as well.
The Prime Minister also applauded educators, parents, students and all education stakeholders for making the first week of the reopening of schools a success. For Eswatini TV News, I am Lincoln Gule in Babane.
The acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku has launched the Kingdom's Public Finance Investment (PFI) guidelines to be used by municipalities when they partner with investors in their local economic development initiatives. The PFI blueprint was launched in an event held at the George Hotel in Manzini.
In the event where the acting Prime Minister Themba Masuku officially launched the country's public finance initiative, PFI, for local government entities, delegates also participated in a local economic development LED investment fair where 13 chief executive officers from different municipalities presented pressing project proposals which are in need of financing. The acting Premier, who was represented by the Minister of Tourism and Environment Moses Vilagati, described municipalities as being key for Eswatini's development.
Cognizance of the fact that local government has evolved the world over from being a mere agent of central government tasked with minor functions such as refugee removal, street lighting, road maintenance, to being development partners to the central government in the advancement of the national development agenda. It is therefore no surprise that today's investment meeting appeals to the private sector and our donor partners to come on board and partner with the local government in the execution of our development mandate and agenda.
The British High Commissioner's representative Titi Zwane described local governments as having a key part to play in reducing urban poverty.
Globally, local economic development is increasingly being seen as a key function of local governments and a means of ensuring that local and regional authorities can address the priority needs of citizens in a sustainable way. The setback on economic development caused by COVID-19 is immense, with stark implications for humanitarian response, the numbers of people in poverty, and need for debt relief. We will continue to deliver UK aid better by combining aid with diplomacy and focusing our efforts where the UK can make a world-leading difference.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Princy Melane, thanked the British High Commission and Commonwealth Local Government Association for enhancing Eswatini's local economic development initiatives. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda in Manzini.
Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says the significance of celebrating Autism Day is aimed at creating a positive platform to highlight the need to help improve the lives of children and adults who suffer from autism spectrum disorders so that they can lead full and meaningful lives. The Deputy Prime Minister, who was represented by Minister of Agriculture Jabulani Mabuza, said this during the celebration of the World Autism Awareness Day held at the DPM's office in Babane.
The United Nations General Assembly universally declared the 2nd of April as World Autism Awareness Day. Its significance is aimed at creating a positive platform to highlight the need to help improve the lives of children and adults who suffer from autism spectrum disorders. Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku, who was represented by the Minister of Agriculture Jabulani Mabuza, says Deputy Prime Minister's office, through its National Disability Unit within the Department of Social Welfare, is currently working on modalities of undertaking a qualitative survey on autism spectrum disorders.
The celebration of World Autism Awareness Day comes in during the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has presented to us great challenges in the life history of the country. Hence the theme for the 2021 Autism Spectrum Disorders and Comorbidities.
Pastor Senzo Hlajwago, who was representing the patron of the autism organization, Her Royal Highness Inkosikati Lamatsebula, says the role played by government and different organizations in the country to help people with autism is commendable.
Umshado wa autism eSwatini naleli hovisi akusiwo lomdzala kakhulu, kodwa kulesikhashana lesishathe ngaso naleli hovisi kunedithelo lesicala kokutibona letithelela intuthuko nenhlala kahle yebantwana nemindeni yalabaphila ne-autism.
Tracy Newton, who is pediatrician from Babane Government Hospital, says the treatment for people with autism is expensive and it is only found in private clinics at higher cost. The chairperson of Parents for Autism Spectrum Disorders, Themba Masuku, says the needs for people with autism are huge, and he also praised the government and the United Nations General Assembly for supporting them financially and otherwise. For Eswatini TV News, Zoto Antlameni with Mbonga Dube, Babane.
The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, says principals should stop kicking out pupils for last year's school fees. The minister says principals who are doing this are doing something illegal.
The Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, has condemned principals for sending pupils back at home due to last year's school fees. The minister says this act by the principals is bad, as scholars have nothing to do with the payment of school fees. Instead, it is parents who are supposed to pay the fees. She emphasized that scholars should not be disturbed.
It is wrong for principals to send learners home for fees. First of all, learners do not have a commitment with the school on fees. It is the parents that are committed to the school. for fees. So please, it's a plea to the head teachers. Let us not send any learner home. We all know that learners have been sitting at home for a very long time, and now it's their opportunity to enjoy being in school. So let us not disturb that. If any learner is owing fees, principals and school committees have the right to engage the parent and ask for the fees instead of sending the learners home.
During a press briefing on March 19, the minister said schools should stop collecting last year's school fees. She encouraged school principals to present the 2020 financial reports to parents, which after being approved, they should be presented to the Minister of Education to determine which parents should be refunded. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Manzini.
Following that, a huge number of elderly persons could not receive their first COVID-19 vaccination as initially planned. The Minister of Health, Nkosi, has announced that the COVID-19 vaccination schedule for the elderly has changed. In a statement, the minister said that a new schedule will be issued on a daily basis.
Elderly persons came out in their numbers to take their first COVID-19 vaccine following an announcement made by the Ministry of Health that the country's vaccination drive for the elderly would begin today on the 31st of March. However, not all elderly persons were vaccinated. In a statement, the Minister of Health, Nkosi, acknowledged that the vaccination exercise could not be completed as planned owing to the high number of the elderly that showed up for vaccination. The minister announced that a new daily schedule would be issued. The minister said on Thursday, the 1st of April 2021, the vaccination exercise would be conducted in the following Tinkhundla centers from 7 a.m. The Tinkhundla centers are Sipoqosini in Hoho region, Maseyisini at Chiselweni, Sitobelweni at Lubombo, as well as Manzini North in the Manzini region. The minister expressed the ministry's appreciation to elderly persons for turning out in their numbers for the first ever vaccination drive. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda.
The Commission on Human Rights, Public Administration and Integrity has praised the Elections and Boundaries Commission for conducting free and fair Butopo by-elections last week. Human Rights Commission Chairperson Sabelo Masuku says the entire elections process was also transparent.
The Commission on Human Rights, Public Administration and Integrity observed all processes that culminated into the by-elections for Butopo or constituency councillors last week. The Commission further observed the actual election process itself in all three chiefdoms. In its report, the Commission described the elections as being free, fair and transparent. Chairperson of the Human Rights Commission, Sabelo Masuku, says the Elections and Boundaries Commission was open and transparent throughout the elections process.
Transparency is key in elections. So the elections ensured the secrecy of the ballot in that voting booths were adequately spaced and sufficient voting stations were made available to avoid queuing and overcrowding. Furthermore, the Commission observed that the process was transparent in that ballot boxes were translucent. Agents and observers were also present in the voting stations. We further note that the security protocols were adhered to in the sealing of the ballot boxes and counting was conducted in the voting stations. The voting stations were all well equipped with electricity to ensure sufficient lighting during the counting process.
In its report, the Commission on Human Rights, Public Administration and Integrity also praised voters for coming out in their numbers to cast their votes, and especially women who accounted for a greater proportion of voters in all three polling stations. The Commission, in its report, also observed that a woman was voted into the position of Butopo at Sitataweni. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda in Babane.
African Jilo Empowerment Project has donated PPEs amounting to 240,000 emalangeni to various government departments and organizations with the aim of curbing the spread of COVID-19 in the country. The protective clothing was donated at NDMA warehouse in Matsapa.
As the COVID-19 pandemic seems to continue ravaging the globe, including the Kingdom of Eswatini, the needs of personal protective equipment to curb the spread of the virus is much needed. As a result, Africa Jilo Empowerment Project then donated PPEs amounting to over 240,000 emalangeni, and these include face masks, hand sanitizers, and clothing. Africa Jilo Empowerment Project representative Patty Mew says COVID-19 has affected and infected many lives. Therefore, the organization has decided to donate with personal protective equipment.
Jilo Empowerment is pleased to partner with the Eswatini nation in addressing the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic. It has gone out of its way to source prospective donors who form part of the South Korean Corporation. These include the Korean Corporation, Hyundai Motors, and VGF Korea.
National Disaster Management Agency's Chief Executive Officer Russell Dlamini says the donation will go a long way in curbing the spread of the virus.
This donation that we are receiving today is worth $16,000, which is about 240,000 emalangeni. And as it has already been said, it constitutes 8,000 masks and about 5,000 bottles of sanitizers. And these will definitely be used around the country for the prevention of the transmission of the COVID-19 virus as we all know it. COVID-19 is real.
Africa Jilo Empowerment will soon be establishing a big project at Eguzugegeni at Elangeni. For Eswatini TV News, Zodwa Ntlameni with Mbonga Dube, Matsapa.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has announced that a total of 4,411 national IDs have been processed since March 13, when the ministry was working on weekends. All 10 Ministry of Home Affairs service centers countrywide were operational on both Saturdays and Sundays to expedite the enrollment of national IDs. This was in response to a 7-month backlog caused by the negative effects of COVID-19 on service delivery. Among those that were successfully enrolled between the period of March 13 to 28 were applications for people aged 16 years, late applications for people above 16 years, as well as replacements for lost IDs. On another note, the ministry notes with concern that some individuals have not yet collected their national identity cards. In this regard, the ministry appeals to all Eswatini people who have not collected their national identity documents to collect them as soon as they can at the service center of enrollment. The ministry expressed its gratitude to government revenue officers and other stakeholders for offering their services on the weekends when the ministry was operating. The statement was issued by Principal Secretary in the ministry, Nhlanhla Nxumalo. In an effort to positively contribute towards Eswatini's e-learning programs, mobile network provider Eswatini Mobile and the Eswatini National Association of Teachers SNAT have renewed a partnership which gives teachers access to the latest smartphones and unlimited data packages. The partnership, which first came to existence in 2018, was relaunched at Happy Valley Hotel today on Wednesday.
The partnership between Eswatini Mobile and the Eswatini National Association of Teachers, SNAT, dates back to 2018. Noble as this partnership may be, it was hindered by a series of challenges which led to teachers not enjoying the full contractual benefits of this partnership. Some of the challenges that prevailed were that Eswatini Mobile did not have the desired quantities of smartphones, while in other areas, the mobile network network provider also did not have sufficient network coverage. At the relaunch of this partnership, Eswatini Mobile CEO Jeff Pemberton made an assurance that the company is working towards resolving these challenges.
Eswatini Mobile and SNAT have worked to overcome these challenges, and we're ready to build on the partnership's success. For Eswatini Mobile's part, we're committed to extending the network, and I think about 10 days ago, it was in the press that we've received the equipment for 86 new base stations. 50 of those new base stations will be up in April, and the remaining will be up in May. So by end of May, we'll have 86 new base stations that would have significantly extended our coverage in the country and the capacity.
President of the Eswatini National Association of Teachers, Mbongwa Dlamini, described the partnership as being crucial in the kingdom's enhancement of e-learning.
As much as people are worried about COVID-19, but there are positives that have been brought by COVID-19. It has detected, we would say, our type of teaching. It includes e-learning. So e-learning utsinga ukuthi kube netinkampani letinjenga Eswatini Mobile, which are going to contribute positively to the exercise.
When the partnership between Eswatini Mobile and SNAT was initiated in 2018, 3,500 teachers signed up for contracts, and it is now expected that more teachers will participate in this partnership. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda at Ezulwini.
Today marked the official launch of the University of Eswatini radio station by the Embassy of the United States of America. Jean Maloney, ambassador of the United States, says the radio station will provide a platform for education as well as exchanging valuable information between the United States and the Kingdom of Eswatini.
The University of Eswatini campus radio station, funded by the Embassy of the United States in the country under the Radio American Voices project, will be fully operated by the students who will create and produce content.
Will this program offer a window into America? But it is aired on UNESCO FM, a radio station for young people, run by young people. Our hope is that this station will support broadcast journalism students who will be able to use this as a training ground to develop skills in reporting, interviewing, researching, investigation, and broadcast production that will catapult them into successful careers in journalism.
Vice Chancellor Justice Twala of the University of Eswatini passed a few remarks with the mission statement of the university about the opening of the radio station.
We are repositioning ourselves in line with our strategic plan to be responsive to the needs of Eswatini. Our mission is to be responsive to national and international needs through excellence in teaching and learning, research and innovation, entrepreneurship and community engagement for inclusive, sustainable development.
The Director of Information Communications Technology, Pesheya Dube, congratulated the University of Eswatini for being a recipient of such a great platform, as it will provide practical training for students, which will in turn enhance their skills.
Congratulations are extended therefore to the University of Eswatini for it to be a recipient of this broadcasting license ahead of the much anticipated enactment of Eswatini broadcasting legislation expected to be concluded soon. This was done, it should be noted, in consideration of a need to strengthen the journalism and mass communication program in order to produce balanced and industry-ready students that will be armed with both theory and practical skills, as is the case with many universities.
Currently, the radio station is accessible in surrounding areas of the University of Eswatini in the Matapa branch at 88.2 FM. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Nomalungelo Jele with Fortune Dlangamandla in Matapa.
You are still watching Eswatini TV, and for your sports news tonight, Eswatini Sports and Recreational Council Communications Officer Dumisani Ndiwane says Emaswati are being encouraged to follow all protocols being provided by government on COVID-19 as the Shuguma program resumes. Ndiwane says the program is set to start again this coming April, having been suspended back in December last year due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Ndiwane was speaking during the Sports Council Awareness Walk on Wednesday morning in Babane.
Ahead of the Shuguma program that resumes this April, employees of Eswatini Sports and Recreation Council held an awareness walk to remind the public about the importance of the Shuguma program, which is a way of encouraging every Eswati to keep health by exercising regularly.
Tinkundla vele liqiniso azange siticetha but satenda tinkundla about 25.
Sports Council Communications Officer Dumisani Ndiwane says Emaswati are being encouraged to follow all the COVID-19 regulations as the program resumes.
Masanjeni not ingaba ngiyinkundla yokucala lengahle isihostele Shuguma emva kwekuliftwa kwebheni emasports.
Before the program was suspended in December last year, the council had already visited over 20 constituencies in the country. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msondera with Linda Dlamini, Mbabane.
That is all we had for tonight, but before we wrap up, let us take a recap and look at today's headlines. Churches in the country are expected to hold one service per day during the Easter weekend. Eswatini today celebrated the World Autism Awareness Day. The Minister for Education has warned principals against expelling pupils who owe last year's school fees. This brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is a weather forecast for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.
All set for baby. With baby's tops, $44.99. Or bottoms, $39.99. Take a set and save 15. Save a bundle with 3 packs of Cuddlesome Gentle Baby Wipes for only $49.99. Why pay more? Get everything for baby this winter. Life's better with Pep.
At Spa. At Spa, we have everything you need for the perfect Easter. And we mean everything. We are your one-stop Easter shop with incredible Easter savings. Like 2-liter liquid fruit for only $29.99 and 3 kg Sunlight hand washing powder for just $54.99. Find everything you're hunting for this Easter at Spa.